Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the table outside as well as on our website. There is also an automatic external defibrillator that is available on the back wall of the legislative chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will begin with the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle. Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Here. Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. And item B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax roll or increased value on property. Is there a motion to approve A and B? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next is citizen comments. This is the time where citizens can come before the Board of Equalization and speak on an agenda item not on the agenda. Again, this is Board of Equalization. Seeing none, we will move to appeal. Item D, the appeal rejection of homestead exemption of Karen York, 5121 Webster Street, Omaha 68132. This was held over from our November 22nd meeting. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor, Register of Deeds Office. Just to sort of recap what we talked a little bit about last time, the property for this value now puts, or for this home now puts the property at a value that renders it ineligible for homestead exemption for the category under which Ms. York has qualified in prior years. The cutoff is approximately $525,000. She's currently at $532,000. Last year she was a 50% qualifier, and to be a 50% qualifier this year, based on value, her property would need to be between $517,000, $575,000, and $520,74. In terms of the value of her property, we have her graded at average condition. It's a big old brick, 4 square at 51st and Webster. We have her graded at average condition, which means, yeah, there's some maintenance deferred, but everything still more or less works pretty well. And what I'm trying to find, if you give me just a second. Is her value is at about $162.31 a square foot. For the other similar properties to hers that are in average condition, the values range between $163.79 and $167.16. So from an equalization standpoint, she's in the ballpark. But I know she's here. She was here last time and apparently had to go during the presentations because everything got out of order. And I know she wants to speak to you at least a little bit today. So with that, I'll just get the heck out of the way and give the floor to Ms. York.
Could I ask one question before you leave?
Sure may.
Could you repeat, you said that her current value is at $532,000?
Yes.
And last year she was at 50%
Right.
qualified.
Yep.
What would it have to be this year?
To be a 50% qualifier?
To be the 50% qualifier, okay.
Anywhere, what happens is you get to a certain threshold, and after that, homestead eligibility phases out in increments of $2,500 apiece, 10% at a time. So, for example, to be 100% qualifier, you needed to be at 50 or between. You needed to be under 507, 574. As it phases out, to be a 50% qualifier, you're at between 517, 575, and 520,074 is the value range.
525. Say the last number again.
I'm sorry, 517, 575, and 520,074.
074. Okay, thank you. And do you want to come forward and speak to us?
Covered everything.
Well, we tried to.
He covered just about everything that I want to say. Closer to the microphone. Oh,
Can-
I'm sorry.
can you just
He
state-
covered just about everything I want to say. I do have some pictures of things that have to be repaired on the house. I don't know if you want to pass them around or what you want to do with them.
Sure, and could you just state your name as, we'll
Karen.
have our clerk get the pictures and he'll
Okay.
pass them around to
Yeah,
us, and then you just state your
Karen
name.
York, 5121 Webster Street.
Okay, thank you. And so did you want to add anything that, from what he
No,
said?
I think he covered just
Okay.
about everything.
Okay, all right, all
But
right.
outside of what, the pictures that I have of the repairs and that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Now, that Ms. York has is that there's a need for repair, maybe substantial, I'm not sure. And I suppose that's why the pictures are being passed out. Could you remind me, Mr. Goodwillie, was there an offer from your office to actually go into the home and kind of assess that damage and kind of see if there's merit there?
Yes, Commissioner Garcia, here's the sequence of events that I've got from our file on this. That Ms. York called us in January about her value, and one of our staffers said, well, why don't you come on down and we'll do a preliminary meeting, but that never happened. I don't know why. There was no protest filed in June, and I know in her appeal materials, Ms. York said, well, I didn't get a notice. We generated a notice and it got mailed. It never got returned to us. Whether it got delivered, I don't know. But nonetheless, a notice got sent out. And then when she filed her appeal, because it was all based on the condition of the property and its value, I reached out to one of our appraisers and I said, why don't you call Ms. York and see if she wants us to do an inspection? And it's my understanding that she declined. That's her right. She doesn't have to have us come out and look at it. But nonetheless, yeah, we kind of reached out to verify the condition issues.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Goodwillie. Ms. York, would you say that's accurate, that an inspector reached out to you to offer an inspection?
I couldn't hear what he said.
Is that accurate? Did someone call you and want to do an inspection?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Morgan?
How long have you lived in your home?
56 years.
Okay. And has it been valued at that 530-some thousand for several years, or do you know?
No, it just came up to that this year, 532,700 is what they raised it to. They raised it $60,000.
So it was around the 470.
It was 472,599.
Okay.
And see,
And
when
I,
they raised it that 60,000, I lost my homestead exemption.
So over about a 15% increase in the value, basically, is what the assessor did last year, because we did see a spike in real estate prices last year. And at that time, I honestly met with the assessor's office and told him I thought it was because of supply and demand, and now we're seeing some decline in home values. We don't see the bids like we did last year, where
True.
you list your home and you have 6 people bidding over the listed price. But at this point, we can't really change that. But I would be looking at that and maybe talking about the conditions, some of the conditions that we have the pictures of. And maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'm glad to assist you to go to the referee this year with the pictures. And I do a little bit of real estate, and I'm happy to help you as a citizen and come down here with you when the board meets next May. And Teresa, if I'm saying anything inappropriate, I'm just speaking freely that I'm glad to help you as a citizen. I'm not sure there's much we can do because of that assessed amount and the restriction of the number. But I do think with the pictures, and I'll work to get some comps with you, and I'm just doing that as a citizen to help you. And I admire you living in your home for 56 years. That's great. We've been in ours
Well, there's a lot
over-
of things that have to be done to it, but, you know, there's
We've
only,
been in ours over 41 years.
yeah,
but,
there's only so much you can do a year, too.
Right.
So we'll go from there, and someone will give you my cell number so you can call me, and it'd be next year we would go to the referee on the tax assessment of your property, okay?
So are
And
you're saying then you can't reduce it any?
we cannot do that now, but I'll let the chairperson speak to that. So you go ahead, Mary Ann, if you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine. So in Mike Goodwillie from the assessor's office can correct me if I say this wrong, but though the opportunities to change your value have passed. So Board of Equalization passed, the filing to go to Turk has passed, right?
There is one avenue left, and I have told Ms. York that I would help her with that. There is a statute that says if failure to receive notice prevented you from filing a valuation protest, one can still petition the Turk to review the value of your property, but you've got to file before the 31st of December of the current year. So that's kind of where we are now.
Okay.
So you're right about the part of the board being out of jurisdiction on this. There's still a little bit of time if Ms. York wanted to take this issue in front of somebody else to contest the value.
Okay. All right. So
And I told her I would help her
Oh,
with
okay,
that.
I
if
was
she
just
wanted.
gonna ask, could you help
Sure.
her with that? Okay. Okay,
I guess so.
all right.
You don't have much of a choice, do I?
No, unfortunately, we're bound by, the laws that we have to follow as Board of Equalization, and when those timelines come and go, then we don't have that option as a Board of Equalization to change values anymore. But, as Mike said, there is still an opportunity to potentially do that through the Tax Equalization Review Commission down at the state. So I would work with Mike to exhaust that,
Okay.
and then also then have a conversation with, and I'm going to say PJ Morgan, not Commissioner Morgan, PJ Morgan next year, about how you can increase your chances through the Board of Equalization process.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for being here. Commissioner Morgan?
Stick around.
Okay.
Is,
And when they get done with me,
Mr. Goodwillie, I
I'll
think
take you back to my office.
it can take 2 years to get before that state board, so.
It can. We have had situations like this before, where somewhere down the road, someone gets a reduction from Turk, and now they're suddenly eligible for homestead in a way that they weren't before. We would process it in a way so that even several years after the fact, it would work its way back, and she'd end up, if she has paid the taxes, she would end up getting a refund for the taxes over and above what her homestead would qualify her at the end of the day.
Okay. Is that all, Commissioner Morgan? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And the only other thing is that there also is that summary judgment process, isn't there, where you can pull it out of the Turk jurisdiction. She waives a right to a hearing, but you all can get together and
Well,
decide?
it doesn't quite work that way, but generally when people have an appeal active and pending in Turk, you know, we can still discuss it. The door isn't closed.
Right.
And so if there's any room to deal with these issues on the value side, we'll certainly take a
Right.
look at it.
Okay, great, perfect. Okay. Thank you.
On the other hand, it may be that these other properties that we have similar to hers have similar sort of I mean, that may all
Right.
be part and parcel of being average
Average,
condition.
yep.
Yeah. So, but yes, and
Okay.
then when you're done with me today, I will take Ms. York back to my office and show her what to do with
Oh.
Turk.
Okay, all right. So with that,
can go sit
I think we need a motion to reject the appeal for homestead exemption. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We'll move to the resolutions, the resolutions E through G. We don't have need for executive session, so that motion can include adjournment, but I do want to, on the resolutions under F, CAC 22201 has been asked to be pulled. So it would be all the resolutions plus G and adjournment excluding 22201. Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
One moment, please. And I apologize, Madam Chair, who made the motion second again?
Commissioner Morgan made the motion and Commissioner Friend seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Rogers. Motion passes 7-0.
Next, we'll move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle? Commissioner Kavanaugh? Commissioner Friend?
Here.
Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Rogers? Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. And item B, approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve A and B? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next is our consent agenda, items A through G. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We have one recognition, Beverly Shields. I do not believe she's with us today, but Beverly is retiring from our Douglas County Youth Center after 30 years. So the board wishes her a wonderful retirement and thanks her for her service to Douglas County. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next are citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Thank you. My name is Mike McDonnell, MIKEMCDONNELL. I'm representing the Omaha Federation of Labor, 6001 Grover Street, Suite number 1, and also Legislative District 5 as a state senator. Jim Vecchio is here as the CEO of the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education to answer any of your questions. I want to tell all of you thank you for the money that you have voted on so far based on trying to help with the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education, a 501c3, and also the industry of the Museum for Industry and Labor. Approximately 8 months ago, I had an agreement with Commissioner Kavanaugh, which this facility would be in his district, of $750,000 towards the project. This is approximately a $4.3 million project. $1.5 million is coming from the state of Nebraska. There's also a large sum coming from the private sector and individual unions. The importance of this, I believe every one of you has had, we've had discussions about and understand the importance of this and the difference it can make with what we're trying to do. What I'm here to ask for is the remainder of the $750,000, which would be $250,000. And I'm not asking you to decide today, of course it's not on the agenda, or where that would come from. But I know you've received approximately from ARPA, your second tranche of money is $55 million, and I know you're definitely looking at, for mental health purposes, dedicating that to that purpose. And as a state senator, I am also working on a legislation that hopefully would help and assist our county with improving our mental health services for all of our citizens. But at some point, I'd like you to look at possibly another opportunity for investing in our community and in Legislative District 5, my district, and in Commissioner Kavanaugh's district, and complete the project and the agreement that was made for $750,000, which right now we're still asking, and we're short $250,000. I'm here to answer your questions.
Can't ask any question. We can't ask any questions.
Oh, you cannot? Okay. Well, this works out pretty well then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for your time. And again, I'm available to answer your questions. Jim Vecchio's here in the future. I know you can't ask today, but Jim, as the CEO of the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development, is also available. And I'm also available at any time that you'd like to meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Jason Rumbaugh, 7510 Howard Street, Apartment 10, Omaha, Nebraska 68114. I am a registered voter in Douglas County. I am a concerned citizen about my election rights and the election integrity of our state and our federal government. I do have information that I have collected from an organization called Nebraska Voter Accuracy Project. This information that they collected was from the Secretary of State regarding the state and federal elections. I do have handouts I can give to someone, and then you can feel free to look at, there's some contact information at the back of the slide.
You want to show the video?
I'm not going to.
Okay.
There's going to be a gentleman that's going to speak after me. Thank you. I was going to show a 6-minute video, but there will be someone that will be following me that will talk about the slides. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry Ortega, and I actually live in Bellevue, 312 Helene Drive, and I'm the spokesperson for the Nebraska Voter Accuracy Project. The slides that hopefully you guys will get a copy of here to take a look at briefly. We pulled out just a few of our slides out of our presentation. At any time, if any of you have any questions, you can call me personally, 402-408-3910. I'm sure that'll be part of the record minutes here for you to be able to reach me. And we are disappointed and upset over the 2022 elections in particular, in that we had people throughout the state identify Wi-Fi devices on the counting machine, on the ballot machines, the express vote ballot machines. Express vote ballot machines are the machines used by blind people. They put on a headset, they press their buttons for their selections, it prints out a ballot, and they take it and they take that printed out ballot. So it's just simply a printer. it should not have any kind of Wi-Fi devices. The Secretary of State told us there are no Wi-Fi devices or any connectivity devices on any of the machines, and we're very disappointed that he refuses to investigate, and so we're going county by county and asking people to go and investigate this. In what we've done, and in our studies, we've noticed that we went back in January, after the last election, we went and asked for a list of all the people that had voted in each county. And when we did that, we went against the Board of Canvassers' report on how many ballots were submitted. In this county, in Douglas County, it was around 680 more ballots than there were people that voted. So there was plenty of ballot stuffing right here in this county. And in fact, our state was rated among the worst 10, it was in 43rd place in the United States by the Heritage Foundation when they went through our laws for election integrity. For example, we got 0 points in their analysis for voter ID because there's no voter ID required. Now this is an interesting way because what we see is it's very easy, just like I told you I ordered to figure out how many voters or what voters voted. You can simply ask the county clerk and get a list of all the people that voted and didn't vote in the last 2 or 3 elections. It comes with their name, it comes with their age, it comes with their address. And if you have a copy of extra ballots, and we have literally dozens of reports of people getting multiple ballots, not an accident, if you happen to have a few spare ballots from that precinct, you can fill it in, and in last election and this election, mail it in for somebody. They don't even know they voted. They haven't been voting. They didn't plan to vote. They didn't think they were voting. But guess what? They voted. And sure enough, we've had record-breaking registrations and record-breaking vote levels here in the state of Nebraska. But they don't match to what's going on. And when we actually go out to ask people, we find out they're not there. In addition, the actual reporting that occurred was absolutely atrocious. In the state of Nebraska, we counted 42% of the vote.
1 minute.
Before one presidential candidate went beyond the other presidential candidate. Wait a second. 42% of the vote, and the 2 presidential candidates were tied, yet by the end of the vote, one presidential candidate had a clear lead. So all the precincts lined up, and the ones most voting for one went first, and then the other ones went later? I'm confused. But everyone refuses to investigate. There's only one court case out of the 2020 election that's made it to the Supreme Court, and it's been accepted by the Supreme Court to take a look at, and that one is about people not investigating the election. It's called the Brunson Brothers suit. You can look it up on the Supreme Court's website. It's something that we recommend, that Douglas County does look at their election, does look to see if there is fraud or any kind of issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Good morning, Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, Nebraska. Thank you, Mr. Ortega. Unfortunately, I noticed there were 4 of our commissioners not paying any attention and a discussion going up on the back wall. They're very interested in our election security, I can tell. On this day before Pearl Harbor, I'm kind of surprised there wasn't some sort of a recognition proclamation on the brave Americans that gave their lives in defense of freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, etc., etc., etc. Unfortunately, today there are national associations that are working against us to quell the freedom of speech and maybe even the freedom of free elections. And this has got to stop. National associations that are nonprofits that are working against us with you on legislative agendas. That is not your job, ladies and gentlemen. Your job is to answer to the citizens that elected you and maybe even listen to us once in a while. This rule that you cannot engage a citizen at this podium is absolutely ridiculous, and I think against state law intent of the Open Meetings Act. Let me tell you how a country gets divided and destroyed. Adolf Hitler, historical magazine by the history buffs themselves, talks about the big lie being told often enough. is how you mold a country into killing others. The big lie, basically, today is this wokeism. We can hear it constantly here, across the nation, and we see it in your resolutions. Equity, diversity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's pitting American citizens against American citizens, and you've got to stop it. National associations of counties, for example, maybe suggest certain items to you for your meetings and for your legislative agendas out at the State House. But you don't even have the guts to tell us what your agenda is down there. You tell us to go to their website and look for it. I don't know what to look for. You should engage us here and tell us what your legislative agenda is, so we can tell you whether you're doing your job or not. Nationally known magazines, and I'll give these to you, Dan, if you want to insert them. If not, I'll not burden you. Military wokeness is endangering all of the military. Now we're having trouble recruiting because of this stupid Marxist theory of critical race theory, which, of course, Mr. Rogers denies. Military magazines talk about it. What they found it at West Point. West Point was teaching it. You going to deny that, Mr. Rogers? I'll give you that. I've been called uninformed. Asinine. Because I get up here and say these things. But those flags back there say that I have a right to. In regards to the election, Arizona is bubbling out. There's going to be an awful lot of disclosures that you're not going to like. But it's going to force a discussion in these chambers. And I hope that Mr. Robert Borer, who ran for the write-in candidate for governor, who gets no attention whatsoever, they won't even tell us how many votes he got. Now, how's that for freedom?
1 minute.
1 minute? Okay, let's see. Under duress, Arizona commissioners did certify the elections there. But it's not over yet. Kerry Lake's got some information that's maybe going to depose the new governor-elect. And we don't even know about the accuracy of the votes in that election. Did you like that information? This is why I'm asking once again for this board to set up a formal presentation where you can engage the citizen, where we can hear Mr. Borer and this gentleman show you the facts that you guys don't probably know and you won't talk about. That's a formal request, and I've talked to Mr. Borer about that. There are other candidates. I think there's a Lancaster County case right now.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Luis Jimenez, 2709 Dewey Avenue. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I want to bring to your attention transportation here, especially because I live in the urban core. I take the bus and I use the city bikes. Heartland Bike Share, they're doing a good job. The bus system here, I don't think does a good job. I looked on the website, their website, and they're called the, excuse me, they're still the Omaha Transit Authority or something like that, even though the state of Nebraska passed a law that says that they can be a regional transit authority. And ain't that the truth? That is like accepting reality that they're more of a regional organization than localized. So what does that mean? That the transit authority can now have interlocal agreements with other counties, other municipalities. And so I think that that might tell you that the Board of Commissioners for the Douglas County has a role to play now as a county government to make sure that the transportation here is quality transportation, particularly for the urban core. I'm still researching what improvements can be done. I think a circular, some sort of circular route that's localized in the urban core is something that's needed. And take it from me, I take the bus, and I feel like the bus system is against me, although everybody feels like the bus system is against them. Improvements to it are needed. Customer service isn't that good with the bus drivers because they know that the fares aren't paying for their salary. It's money from the feds and other organization. It's not the tickets. That might be something to do with the quality. But I'm here to tell you that even though I would want you to take a look at this, I think the new law demonstrates that you have a role to play now that the transit authority is going to go regional. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda?
Alan Seibert, 5537 North 140th Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68164. Excuse me. I had a question. I'm sure I'm out of order here, but I had a question about Ms. York's appeal on her property in general. The question was about the qualifications for homestead exemption. I know that there's a bracket. This representative from the assessor's office referenced it. Bracket on percentage of qualification. I was wondering how often that bracket's reviewed. It would seem like it ought to be fair that if the housing market has been like it's been experiencing the extreme fluctuations in prices lately, that bracket should be going up with those prices. And it sounds like Ms. York, unfortunately, is being caught in a situation where her valuation was affected by the appreciation. But if those brackets haven't been adjusted, she's in a difficult spot. The other thing, there was a comment about how long it takes to get in front of the Turk. Personally, I filed an appeal in August of 21. I just now got a letter that my hearing is finally scheduled in January next year. There are several other things too that I know that you guys are stuck with some of the regulations that you have to comply with. But I would hope that instead of some of the examples I've seen from this board, from the Board of Equalization in the past, was that you were looking for reasons for valuations to remain at a high level rather than to try to help some of these property owners out.
Bless you.
I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the Board of Commissioners about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to public hearings. Our first public hearing is for a Class C 125359 license. It's a beer, wine, distilled spirits on and off sale for Hideaway Lounge at 3030 South 203rd Street. Application is for Brian Shope at 1706 North 206 Elkhorn. action can be taken today after this public hearing. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Mike Kelly, 2804 South 87th Avenue. This is just a lounge in Elkhorn that's going in. We actually were here about 2 months ago, but since that time he added a new partner, so we had to come back and do it again. In case you're wondering why we're back.
Right.
Outside of the fact I love
There
to see
go.
you folks.
Okay, so is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against this application during this public hearing? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the will of the board? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, seconded by Commissioner Rogers. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next is a public hearing for Class AB 125324 licensed beer and on and off sale for Zipline Brewing Company, LLC DBA Zipline Brewery at 3808 South 203rd Plaza Suite 100. The manager application is for Marcus Powers of 6640 Everett Street of Lincoln, 68505. This is the public hearing. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Marcus Powers of 6640 Everett Street in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm here on behalf of Zipline Brewing Company. We have a new member to our LLC. We're just continuing existing operations at our location, but need the Liquor Commission advised us to go through a reapplication hearing to enshrine the new member.
Okay. Is there anyone here wishing to speak during this public hearing? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the will of the board? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to committees, the first being the finance, the budget report from the budget committee as presented. We have an ARPA funding, the approval of a resolution authorizing the award of $125,200 to Boys Town to help fund its day school and Metro Intervention Center programs for youth. This is brought to us by the allocation out of Commissioner Morgan's ARPA funds. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Friend, seconded by Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Yes, I just noticed Bays is here today, and I wanted to recognize him and commend him and the great people at Boys Town for the magnificent job they've done for over a century now, providing high-quality care for youth in need. I've had the honor of touring the facility recently a couple times, and I really continue to be greatly impressed with the dedication and just excellent efforts being made at Boys Town today to help children in need in our community. So I want to commend you, Father, and thank you for all you do to help make it a better world. Thank you.
Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Commissioner. I would ask that Father Bays possibly come up and make a statement. This was something I decided to do, seeing the need, and I was close as my mother was with Father Peter and the organization, and just so respect what Father Flanagan initiated so long ago. It's unbelievable of the ongoing 100 years of that great facility. So, Father, thank you, and usually I see you in another light with Annie, but thanks for coming down.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And Douglas County Commissioners, I'm Father Stephen Bass, 14100 Crawford Street, Boys Town, Nebraska, 68010. I'm here today with Pat Connell from Boys Town and Danielle Paulson, who is the director of both the Boys Town Day School and the Metro Intervention Center. We're seeking funds today because we're continuing the work that Father Flanagan did starting in 1908. From the very beginning, he took the most challenging kids off the streets of Omaha, Nebraska, and gave them an excellent education. At a time when the day schools, the county-run reform schools, and the orphanages at the time had very poor education for their kids. So that was one of the ways he helped reform the system of care here in Nebraska and across the United States. Since that time, we've been educating really, traumatized kids. But our push lately, since I've come to Boys Town the last 17 and a half years, has been to reach out to communities with our services. So when I arrived, 75% of the kids we helped had been pulled out of their home when we helped them. Now 96% of the kids we care for are cared in their community, in their schools, and in their homes. And as part of that effort, in 2009, we started a day school. We've served over 650 students since then. The average length of stay is about 2 years. So these are kids that have an IEP, an individual education plan, and the people in their school have determined that they can't meet their needs in their own school, so they bus them to Boys Town. We help to get them strengthened, sometimes improve on their IEP and send them back. Other times they stay for longer periods of time. In the same building on campus, we have a Metro Intervention Center started in 2015 that's helped over 850 youth in that time. These are kids who spend about 45 days on average at Boys Town. They have been suspended or expelled from their home school district. 87% of our current population at these two organizations within this one building come from Douglas County. We have both operational requests and basically a capital request. Operationally, we need a new assistant principal. This will help us to welcome more kids. And then our capital, obviously, if you've driven by campus, we're building a brand new $50 million school for the kids on campus. Will allow space at that current day school to expand. School districts are asking for our help every day to add more students. We would use capital funds to fix up that school for them and to hire this assistant principal. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Go ahead, you can finish, yeah.
Father, did you say 96% of the young people you're helping are
all over the United States, they never leave their own home. Like these day school students, they live at home. They just come to us for education. In the old days, you'd have to pull those kids out and send them to Boys Town because we were the only school that could handle them. Yep.
I can't thank your organization, your team, and all of the Boys Town people and Pat Connell. I go back about
1 minute.
50 years, but really appreciate what you do. And there's a greater need today. All you have to do is watch the news last night,
right,
and you know the tremendous need. So I thank you for what you're doing. I'm glad that I could participate, and look forward to talking with you more.
We're also helping OPS with their school district, but we'll come another time to talk about that.
Yep.
Thanks again for coming down.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, we had a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for what you do. Item 3, monthly fee report for from the Douglas County Clerk Comptroller. That's just our acceptance of it. We move to Human Resources, weekly personnel report as presented. Our legislative items will be on next week, just an FYI. And then 3, there's a resolution setting the calendar year 2023 wage increases for various non-union county employees. And with that, I'll turn it over to Patrick to give a brief synopsis of what was presented at the committee.
So Commissioners, Patrick Bloomingdale, County Administrator. So the HR Committee met last week, and the discussion was on pay increases for the non-union employees. And Karen Bush from HR handed out a document, which I shared with you all and included in the packet, which shows the increases in other jurisdictions or the increase generally for other areas. And she put down either 4%, 5%, or 7% and what the cost would be. And she recommended a 5%, and the committee agreed with that. Karen can fill in any holes in that if you want her to.
Okay. With that, any questions or comments? Commissioner Kavanaugh?
And thanks for this information, Patrick. The backup on this, and I think you indicated that the 5% was kind of the suggested percentage, is that right?
Yes.
And the backup on this indicates that that would, if I'm reading this correctly, result in a $2,487,930 increase. Is that correct?
So the document indicates the 5% is 2.487 million, yes.
And just to break it out for people, is that how much it would cost per year to increase this category of employees by 5%?
Well, yeah, that's the
base.
I mean, it's going to increase it in that first year. Obviously, future increases would increase that amount because the base is increased by whatever percentage the board gives.
Okay, so just so people are clear, this would be to increase for this category of employees for what period of time?
This is for the 23 calendar year.
Okay, and that increase would be 5%.
That's correct.
And that would result in $2.4 million in additional expenses. Is that what that would cost? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I've answered that a couple of times. Yes, it's $2.487 million.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Morgan?
Commissioner Kavanaugh, do you have an alternative of
No, I was just trying to clarify, Commissioner Morgan, just so the people out there who can't see these documents have an understanding of what we're doing.
and also, you know, how necessary that was. There was plenty of discussion on that for several hours about the situation and the challenges we're facing on the hiring of people, and not just in one area, but all areas, as all businesses are facing with signs out in front and in their windows, whether it's Walgreens or Market Basket or Camelot Cleaners or wherever it is. It's just a serious problem that I don't think is going to go away in the near future. But Patrick, we thank you and Marcos, Diane, Carlson, for the efforts that you all put forth to assist us and work at these numbers for us. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to also give Karen Bush, our HR director, kudos because, again, this is those just hard decisions that we have to make for our employees as we continue to look at what happens with our union employees as well as our non-union. So I appreciate the work that has been done and the presentation that was given at the committee. It was very thorough, and we appreciate that, so thank you very much. With that, was there a motion and a second? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any other questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We do, thank you. We do have need for executive session for litigation, legal advice, and contract negotiations. Is there a motion to, is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote. And just to announce, after this meeting, we do have a community service committee up in room 903. And so we'll proceed up there after this board meeting.
It's at 11. Marianne, that's at 11.
I'm sorry?
11, isn't it? That meeting?
Oh, it's at 11 o'clock. I was looking at that, but I didn't see that it said 11. 11 o'clock, there you go. Thank you, Karen. Okay, I still don't see where it says 11 o'clock.
Commissioner
Oh,
Kavanaugh.
immediate following the county board meeting. Yeah, that's what it says. That's okay. That's all right.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay.
Want me to hit yes for it? Or, yeah, all right.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Motion. See you later, Commissioner Friend. Motion to reconvene and adjourn passes 7-0. We're adjourned at 10:37 a.m.